Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5, 10.
Welcome to the Deadlights podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I am Leslie, and we're bringing you another episode, everybody.
Another one, another experience, another dance.
Another dance. We don't seem to stop dancing. Why
Never.
is that?
Well, probably because of the movie that we just watched.
Oh, which one did we watch?
Climax from 2018, written and directed by Gaspar Noé. French dancers gather in a remote, empty school building to rehearse on a wintry night. The all-night celebration morphs into a hallucinatory nightmare when they learn their sangria is laced with LSD.
And boy, was it.
Feeling it. Freaking feeling it.
Yeah.
Have you ever, so just off the top, this is a movie that heavily has to do with tripping. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a tripping experience? Not obviously to that level, but like a not good tripping experience?
No.
No?
No, because I, A, haven't done acid, and B, the only other hallucinogen thing that I've done, I haven't taken enough to trip.
Gotcha.
So it's just been a nice, mellow, really fun atmosphere.
Just feeling little giggles maybe sometimes.
Oh, lots of giggles.
Yes. Feeling
Lots
it
of
in your
giggles,
body.
lots of just really feeling good.
Yeah.
So I haven't experienced that.
Not that kind of
Not
climax.
that level.
No.
How about you?
Typically, I have dabbled in a couple different hallucinogens. One of them was acid. But my most intense trip actually was on shrooms. And that was just the amount that we did and the mode that we did it in. I think we each did like an eighth. And then it was also in a tea. So that like hits you super fast and super hard. And it was definitely couldn't get a grasp on reality for a little bit. There was a couple moments in this film where I was like, I feel you, bro. I feel you. But not to this level. I mean, it was, it was
You
intense.
didn't want to kill anybody?
But I didn't want to kill anybody. I didn't let my inner demons come out too much. So luckily, because this was definitely a horror show when it comes to doing
Nightmarish.
drugs. Nightmarish drug trip, for sure.
Where, like, this is the dangers of drug taking, especially these. Yes, you can definitely take a large amount for you to break your psychosis, but
Also,
if you're
cause a psychosis.
yes, and it really depends on the group that you're taking these drugs with, because you're all gonna go on this trip together, and it's winter cold out there in this movie, so you can't go anywhere. And it seemed like everybody was close enough so everybody could get into each other's spaces and just get stuck there.
It just became a collective nightmare. It became everyone's collective trip. And it was scary. And there was definite moments where I was like, this is what you fear, when people talk about like doing drugs and messing with hallucinogens. This is what people fear. This kind of loss of control and loss of yourself. Mm-hmm. And it just becomes one big mess. Should we get into it?
Let's just get into it.
Let's hit the can.
La can.
And within the can, so Gaspar Noé is a French filmmaker. And before we watched this, I actually didn't realize that I had seen some of his movies. But then my roommate came in and told me who he was. And I was like, oh, this makes sense. Because this guy, definitely more on the experimental filmmaker. And definitely more of, I would say, an experiential filmmaker where we're being put in situations that we don't want to be in, bad feelings, and he sits us in them for a very long time, and he forces you to stay there to the point of like you're asking yourself, when the fuck am I getting out of this moment?
Oh, I needed to get out. It's so unconventional, the way that he has laced all this, the themes and the dance and the filmmaking all in one. I've definitely seen some films definitely go into the experimental route, but we don't stay there long. We had a whole, what was it, 10-minute sequence of the film being upside down. But I want to spend a little bit more time in the can talking about the choreography, and because these are folks that are in the dance world. I'm not a dancer. I love to witness dancing, and I do like going to the club and dancing, but I wouldn't say that I know how to dance.
Me either.
I just move.
Me too. Yeah.
Which, there's some form of dancing, but these people were really good. I want to say this film focused a lot on arms and like falling down and spinning around and doing all those contorting kind of like movements, that when you apply it to a horror film in red lighting and shadows, it's freaky.
Yeah, and upside down.
I don't know what the hell, what limbs are what.
In the first part of this film, when we're being introduced to everybody, there's this pretty long dance sequence at the beginning before all the drugs hit. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's really getting into the dance. It was a super fun scene. I mean, we were moving with it too.
Yeah,
they're having a good time. They're doing their routine. Really impressive body movements, body control, different kind of dancing. So that was really cool to see that dance choreo going on. And then later, as the film goes on, and they're going more into the drug-induced hallucinations and all that stuff, they were still moving their bodies like dancers. And these moments of them throwing themselves against walls and, freaking out because the trip is so hard, they were still moving like dancers.
Down to their tippy toes, they are trained to just move their body efficiently and have a little bit more control of it than just a regular person. But I also want to say that everybody had their own unique style, and you were able to see their personality come out as well in the interviews. We spent a good portion in the beginning-ish of the film,
I think.
which is another thing that I want to talk about,
Yeah.
the layout of how this movie was edited.
Yeah.
But there's a big portion where we dive into people's personalities and why they chose dance and what they would do to get the opportunities to be able to dance.
Est-ce que t'es prêt à beaucoup de choses pour réussir?
C'est-à-dire? Je suis prêt à tout.
C'est quoi tout?
À tout.
La danse, c'est tout pour moi. J'ai que ça.
If you couldn't dance, what would you do?
Suicide?
Which still, it's at the beginning of the movie, so we don't really know who these people are. We're still trying to get a grasp on what's going on and who the characters are, what their motivations are. So even after that scene, I still felt like I didn't really know them. But in that first scene, after they do the dance and then we're following along through the party, it almost felt like we were there too. It felt like we were at the party because, first of all, he's doing a lot of really long takes. That really set you into the moment and really set you there in the place. Feels like you're walking around the party, going in these other these like conversations. And I thought it did without us even realizing it, it did such a good job of establishing these characters.
Yes.
And a good job of establishing everyone's motivations, their experience, what they think about each other, what they think about sex, what they think about drugs, all the things you talk about at a party. This is one of the few movies I feel like we have a massive cast of people. And I can't tell you most of their names.
No.
The character names. A massive cast of people. But I still feel like I kind of got everyone's motivation. I got their character development, and you saw like everything made sense almost.
Yeah.
Like by the end, when people were making crazy decisions on drugs, I was like, that makes sense for that character to
checks
take
out.
it there.
Yep.
They did such a good job in the beginning of establishing all these different personalities with each other.
They did not stop dancing.
No, the
They
movement
kept
was constant.
dancing.
Movement between the people and the camera, constant.
I had this whole perception because I saw the trailer back when it like first came out, and I had noted it. I was like, okay, this is a movie I want to see. So I'm happy to see it fucking 5 years later. But this whole time I had this idea that this movie was going to, I knew they were going to take drugs or they were going to be laced in some form. But I thought that because of the drugs, it was going to be kind of more of a supernatural element where they were not going to stop dancing. But no, they just didn't stop dancing because they're dancers.
Yeah.
That supernatural element was created through lighting and shadows and the music.
Yeah.
In the middle of the film, we got the title card, everybody's names, and the bands that made the music.
The middle
which
of the
were so many.
Yes, a lot of people.
So many. Daft Punk was one of them.
The Rolling Stones.
Insane.
Yeah.
And so many others. Which was right in the middle.
It was in the middle. It was in the middle. And that, I think that leads into what you were trying to talk about before, which the editing style of this film was absolutely wild.
Was nothing I have ever experienced, and it disoriented me even more. Because in the beginning, I thought that was the end, which it was.
Yes. But they rolled the credits.
They rolled the fucking credits, and it made me crazy. I was like, Sam, are we seeing the end?
I was like, oh, fuck.
Did you
damn
play
it.
it?
Did I download something wrong? Fuck. Wait. Then it switched back to it like did a channel switch
Yeah.
to the interviews. And we're like, okay.
And then the interview, it was like on a old TV, and you had movies and books that I think were a inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
Suspiria was on there.
For sure. I mean, that's the most obvious one with the
Of
dance
course.
company.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So cool.
Pretty cool. And then also throughout the film, I've never seen this before either. There was one sequence at the beginning of the party when everyone is having separate conversations with each other, and we're cutting between different people's conversations, but there's like a black screen in between everyone's conversation, like just for like a second. There's just it just goes to black and then goes to the next scene.
Yeah.
And it does that throughout the film.
It does.
And it just like, again, it's adding to this disorientation. How much time has passed?
Memory lapse, alcohol does that. Not only are they getting laced with LSD, but also on top of that, they're drinking alcohol.
These moments reflect how your mind would function if you were tripping really hard, because your mind is just flashing to different places, and it doesn't make any sense. A memory that you haven't had in so long just pops up randomly or something like that. And so, yes, I think that between the colors, the editing style, how the camera is moving is just all functioning very well to make us incredibly disoriented. And that's the point of this film. It really feels like, which I think, we should get to the meat then. Let's talk about
Let's
it.
get it.
We're talking about drugs.
We're talking about drugs. We're talking about abortion. There is one gal who does not drink the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
sangria, but the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
because she is pregnant.
C'est pas un bon environnement pour un enfant. Toi, t'as déjà avorté? C'est bien d'avoir le choix.
Tu te fais baiser dans un coin d'un mur, tu vois là, et après tu tombes enceinte. Et après, qu'est-ce qu'il faut que tu fasses? Il faut que les plus belles erreurs de ta vie, elles deviennent des réussites.
The mentioning of having a child and the opportunity is just like it's just different.
Yes.
And so we have a character saying, if I were to get pregnant, I would abort it. You know, we have another character who is pregnant and she's not sure what she's gonna do. And then here comes this one other person who, out of nowhere, just hits the pregnant lady and just does not think about life at all.
T'es enceinte, espèce de mytho, hein?
The drugs that everyone takes, it just amplifies everything. And I think that was part of it too. The things that they established at the beginning of the movie with the different things that people were going through in their lives. You know, we have the pregnancies, obviously. We also have jealousies between people who want to just get laid.
We have some incest.
Some incestual things going on. And then by the time the drugs really kick in, all that stuff just becomes amplified.
Yeah.
Le seul truc que j'ai réussi dans ma vie, c'est cette sangria, en fait, tu vois.
C'est vrai qu'elle est bonne.
You have a bunch of people together that they're hot, you know, and people are dancing the way that they want to dance and expressing the way they want to express. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to be free and want to have sex with each other. I feel I sound like a mom. But yeah, like there's going to be people who are attracted to each other, but also like these are the extent of what can happen. Everybody's going to be sleeping with everybody, and there's going to be jealousy, there's going to be envy, there's going to be all sorts of troubles that happened because it gets really messy.
And I feel like they did talk about sex a lot, but they also talked about drugs a lot. And I feel like what they were really kind of talking about was, like the vices, you know, like what people do when they're young, when they're experimenting with things, and the dangers of those vices, you know, like, because at the beginning when they're talking about sex, they're talking about how different people are using sex for different things. Some are just using it for fun. Some are using it to get ahead, because they do make the mention of, oh, he's sleeping with the choreographer. He's smart. He's trying to get ahead.
C'est un arriviste. Pourquoi tu crois qu'il est avec la chorégraphe? C'est pour se placer. Il est avec tout le monde, ce gars. La chorégraphe, c'est juste en mode, il veut du taf, c'est tout.
And then you have other people who are using it for dominance. You know, you have those two guys who are talking to each other very, very vulgarly about fucking people in the ass and all. And they're making a joke. They're joking around about it, but it's more about this like dominance thing. And then on the flip side, you can do the same exact thing with drugs. You know, you can use it just for fun. You can use it to get ahead. You can use it to your established dominance over people. So they're making that tie too. And then on top of that, you could also make that tie with dance. You know, like people dance for fun. People dance for pleasure. People dance. There's this moment where the two guys that were talking about fucking other people in the ass, they're like crumping at each other. They're like, you know, trying to like dominate the other person who's on top. So all these things, it's like drugs, sex, and dance are all being tied together. And the question is, how do you use that for yourself?
Faut savoir tenir son zizi un peu plus.
Les gars, on n'a qu'une seule vie. Et quand il fait la longueur du mien, je suis obligé d'utiliser. C'est un don.
All right, well, shall we get to the cook?
Let's do it.
Speaking of burning. The cook of this movie, I mean, we kind of talked about it before, but it's really all about making us feel disoriented. And by golly, did they do that.
Through the dancing, so there's lots of movement. The placement of the camera, which we had some scenes for a couple of segments where it was above people.
The first shot of the film.
Yeah. And, oh, God, like, I mean, I think I got an idea of the establishment. I think I know where rooms were at and what was left and what was right. I knew that.
Yeah.
But then once we turned off the lights, the camera went backwards. Everyone was everywhere and popping everything. I don't know what was up and what was down.
Yeah.
I was lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he did a really good job doing that.
Yes. The long takes service that so well. Because, yeah, you're following behind these people the entire time when they're walking through the halls, going to the rooms, going back out to the dance floor, and you start to recognize the different areas. You know where the kid is. You know where they put the kid in the electrical room. Yeah, lock him in there. That'll be good.
There were so many other, like, bedrooms.
Yeah. And
she was on drugs.
She was on drugs. And, yeah, you just start to get a sense of where everything was and where everyone was at and what they wanted, what they didn't want, and without much dialogue scenes. You know, we have, you know, at the beginning, that interview scene, and then a little later we have that, like, cutting in between everyone's conversations at the party. But for the most part, there wasn't really that much dialogue between characters. It was just everyone tripping. Yep. Everyone going through this experience together, us included as the audience. We're just along for this crazy trip, crazy ride. But we still get it. We still get what everyone is like and what they want and what their motivations are, who they are as a character. Somehow, I actually don't even know how they established that so well, but I really felt like I knew all the different characters pretty well.
Quand je danse, j'arrive à être quelqu'un d'autre en fait que je peux pas être autre part. C'est ça.
Well, should we get to the thrill? Should we get to the thrill?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because the thrill really comes from this drug-induced experience that we're all going through. A lot of scary, trippy moments. And really, like, the scary part comes, for me at least at the beginning, is like how fast that switches. Because once they learn, oh shit, that someone put something in the punch, it was like the next question was, who the fuck did it? Was it you? It was you. We're throwing you out.
Ouais, les gars, je sais qui c'est. C'est Omar, fils de pute. N'importe quoi.
No one thinks about Omar after that. He's gone. No one's lets him back in. Even after, like, they start accusing other people of doing it, and then the one girl punches the other girl when she finds out she's pregnant, like, out of nowhere. And someone gets their hair lit on fire. Someone starts cutting themselves out of nowhere. Again, it's just like these moments, like you said, go from 4 to 10 so fast that you're like, why?
Yeah. I was going crazy with them. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have drugs and people are going nuts. That in itself is scary. We also have screaming happening.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
The whole time. He had drank sangria too, so he's tripping in there. Mm-hmm. He's saying there's a bunch of cockroaches and rats and stuff, and that was a nightmare. That was horrible.
That's what I was like. Definitely part of the thrill is the sound effects. The sound design is constant. It's this screaming between the kid and other people freaking out, people yelling, not even just like scared yelling. People are just like, woo, like party yelling too. Yeah.
There's both of them going on at the same time.
And then also the music was constant too. So it was this onslaught of sound.
Qu'est-ce que t'as fait? Qu'est-ce que t'as mis dans la sangria? Je me sens pas bien. Mais de quoi tu parles? Mais de quoi tu parles? J'ai rien fait. Qu'est-ce que t'as fait? Mais qu'est-ce que vous avez tous là?
First of all, it was driving the movie for sure. Like the pace of the movie was set by the music.
Yeah.
But it was leaving you in that torturous sounds for the entire hour and a half that we were in that film.
Oh yeah.
You were just like, please stop. Please turn down the music for a second. And there was like,
I need to go.
there was like 2 moments, I feel like, where we did escape the music for just a second, and you could feel those moments. You're like, oh, stop for a second. Thank you.
Oh putain, c'était toi qui as grillé!
The kid turned it off, and then they had a boombox.
Yeah.
Damn it. But yeah, that was definitely an element of the horror and of this disorientation, was the constant sound. Wow, it was loud. Wow, it was loud. And we're talking about characters that live in a world of sound, live in a world of music.
Yeah.
They're dancers. And so it's taking that element of the world that they're in and something that they're constantly surrounded by and turning it on its head to be something that is torturous. And you want it to end.
I think, to me, the most successful scene, besides the dancing in the beginning, I thought that was incredible. But we had follow Selma. She's Selva, yeah. She is losing her mind. And then it gets into a place of like pleasure, and then she's kind of like wanting to pleasure herself, but like not quite. It's more internal. And then she like digs her like hands and her legs, and it seems like she's finally been able to like hold herself, and she feels, it seems like for a split second, like peace. And she starts realizing, and in the most drug mind like state, she's like, oh my god, I am trapped. And she starts like wanting to get out, and she feels constricted because of her tights. And then we're fine. It was so, I was like, I need to get out of here. I felt like I took drugs.
Yes. Nightmare.
And then in her character arc, in her drug journey, she ends up having sex with someone.
Yeah.
And then we stopped following her.
That was odd. Because at the beginning, she did seem like the main character. She seemed like, or, there's a lot of characters, but she seemed like the one that we were really following the whole time. And then for the last, 20-ish minutes, 30-ish minutes of the movie, she's not really there. We don't really complete her story that much. She's just goes and fucks.
Yeah. What a nightmare.
What a nightmare. Well, let's get to this ride, huh? The ride of Climax. We've mentioned it before, but it was certainly disorienting. And I think specifically with this filmmaker, knowing his style, the ride was all about leaving us in a situation that we don't want to be in. And there were so many moments. I mean, the whole movie is a situation that we don't want to be in, being in a bad trip. But within the movie, there was just so many moments of please cut away from this. Please get me off of this nightmare dance floor. Please, I don't want to see the siblings having sex with each other.
Yeah, this ride was not one I want to go in again.
Very bumpy ride. Yeah, and the ending also, we did have a reveal of who spiked the drugs, and it turned out to be the person who at the beginning in the interviews said that they were in Berlin, but they had to leave Berlin because the drug scene was just too insane.
There's a lot of drugs in Berlin. It's too much. My ex-roommate, I don't talk to him anymore, but right before I moved out, he started to take acid in his eyes, like actual drops.
Turns out, kind of seems like she was the one, because we see the shot at the end. She's dropping the drugs in her eyes, and she obviously spiked the sangria.
And she was the whole time she was having a good time.
Great time.
She peed on the floor, but she was so into herself.
The
she
one
was
person
having
who
a good time.
was smiling the whole time, she was feeling herself. And I don't know. It's hard to read that, because what's her motivation behind drugging everybody?
She just wanted to. I think that's the reason why Berlin had to kick her out. She was kicked out of rooming with folks in Berlin, and I'm pretty sure it's because she is having a good time, therefore everybody else needs to have a good time, but she doesn't tell them, and it's not nice.
That's not nice.
To spike things.
That's not nice at all.
Because then those that don't have her tolerance are then consuming way too much and then almost throwing up and dying.
People literally died. People literally died because of her choices. Yeah. Damn. Which then goes to the question of, like, with drugs or sex, whatever, these vices, your actions do affect other people.
You have to have boundaries. No matter how passionate you are and how much you want something, you can't just do just about anything for the sake of that position. And when we're young, we think we have to, because these opportunities are presented to us by folks that are older that take advantage of you, and they're going to work you to the bone to get to whatever they want from you. And you have to have boundaries.
She didn't.
No one did.
No one did. Not by the end. Ooh,
Not by the end.
Woo! Climax.
Climax.
Holy schnitz. This was a different one.
This was different.
This was a different one. All right, let's get to these Smash Pumpkins, shall we? Let's smash them up. Do you have a number?
I think I have a number.
All right, what you got?
I really appreciate the experimental aspects of this. I think it was successful in the sense that it provided feelings, emotions that no matter how horrible they were felt. And I think it was quite successful in that matter. I haven't seen a dance movie like this that isn't like Bring It On and stuff like that, where there is an element of dance, but this was pure dance.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. And there was a lot of characters, but I didn't think I lost track of people. I lost track in other sense.
True.
But because it was supposed to. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. The only things I didn't quite enjoy, and I don't think they were quite as successful, were those title cards. I think they were like force feeding us how to feel and what the scenes were trying to say and stuff like that. You know, once you make something and it's out there, people are going to interpret it the way that they want to. So I think those were not necessary, and they were just too right on the nose for me. I like when things don't make sense. Give me something weird. Don't try to add any justification to them. Just let it be.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I also really enjoyed the kind of the experience of this movie. You know, it wasn't a pleasant experience.
No.
It wasn't supposed to be, but I think that he was incredibly successful in portraying that. And this is sometimes the point of horror, you know, to show us something that is going to make you incredibly uncomfortable and set you in those feelings and make you feel that kind of horror, you know? And this was real horror. This is not supernatural. This is people on drugs, and it can show an experience. Obviously, it was extreme. People were, dying. But it almost got to a point of you being like, yeah, like that could happen. Like that drug experience could happen.
Which was based on a true story.
It was based on a true story.
Loosely.
Very loosely.
The only element that happened was somebody did lace people in a dance studio back in 1996. That's it. But none of the other events happened.
No deaths, nothing like that.
No.
So yes, it happens. People lace things, and that is a kind of that. When you go to a party, you got a punch bowl. That is a fear. That's a thing.
Bring your own.
Bring your own. So this cautionary tale definitely holds through, and then the actual filmmaking style, very unlike anything I've ever seen before, between the editing and the camera movements, but it's also very specific to this filmmaker. So he does a great job of keeping his aesthetic through this. And my roommate that came in the room asked me immediately if this was that filmmaker without knowing what the movie was, because he could tell by watching it for 5 minutes who made it. So that's a testament to this filmmaker. And so I thought it was very successful in all those things. It's, I don't know if there was completed full arcs for like every character. This was more of just like us being in a space for a period of time and just experiencing that. And there was less like character development that was going on. It was just more of like people being on drugs and their shit coming back and being amplified. So as far as like character development and character arcs, that wasn't really a thing in this movie, which is okay. If this is the type of movie that you're going for, I think I'm going to give it, a 4. I think I'm going to give it a 4. Yeah. 4 out of 5. A very, very tough experience to go through for all of us, but quite an experience. That's for sure.
Makes me want to do acid. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Just
you
kidding,
already are.
Mom. No! I thought this was just Jericho.
It was. Climax.
Climax.
Wow, holy shit. All right, well, let's see what we're watching next week for our season finale, our last film.
Finale.
And how about before we pick it, any movies you want to see? Do you want to throw some energy out there before we dip in?
Still want Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
I really want that film. But give me some aliens. I want aliens.
We're going to get some aliens.
Is it my turn?
Go for it. Yeah.
Some alien movie.
The Fourth Kind.
I would really want to... The Fourth Kind really terrified me when it first
too.
came out.
It was fucked up.
All right. All right.
Here we go.
Alex Browning is among a group of high school students readying themselves for a trip to Europe. When he suddenly has a premonition their airplane will crash, he screams to warn the others, but instead he is thrown off the airplane.
Wow, for the final film of the season, we were watching Final Destination.
I was actually...
What?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Nice. The final film, Final Destination. Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's insane.
That's cool. All right. Great. Well,
what if I would have said Final Destination?
Then it would have been crazy here. Yeah, you got it.
I was thinking about it too. I've been saying Final Destination and Blair Witch Project in my mind.
There you go. The horror gods are listening, even to our thoughts.
Deep within me.
Which is kind of scary. All right, cool. Well, let's get out of this trip, huh?
Yeah, let's get out. I'm Leslie. Follow me on Instagram. Color me Leslie.
And follow me, Sam, at BP Pritchie T. You can also call us at 773-669-6677. Anything.
Please.
Anything.
Stories. I want to hear stories, please. God damn it.
Yeah, me too.
Scary, spooky stories. I have to go online for them.
No,
That
we know
would
you
be
got some.
Great coming from you.
Yeah, and also, we got another season coming, and we need more suggestions to the bucket. So
More than what we have.
More than what we have. More than the 300 to 500 that we have in there. But also follow us at the Deadlights Pod, and also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we're recording this at.
Yeah.
But until the season finale, let's get spooky.
Underground.
What was in that sangria?